Maidan Sabs trembled and held its breath. Families prayed that the thief would bypass their home, for they knew that if the thief tapped on their roof, they would have to give it one child. The thief would then toss the child into a sack, sling the sack over his shoulder, and go back the way it had come. No one would ever see the poor child again. And if a household refused, then they would take all of its children. So, where did the thief take the children to? To its fort, which sat atop a steep mountain. The thief's fort was very far from Maidan Sab's. Valleys, several deserts, and two mountain chains had to be cleared before you could reach it. And what sane person would, only to meet death? They said the fort was full of dungeons where cleavers hung from walls, meat hooks dangled from ceilings. They said there were giant skewers and fire pits. They said that if it caught a trespasser, the thief was known to overcome its aversion to adult meat. I guess you know which rooftop to save the thief's dreaded tap. Upon hearing it, Baba Ayub let an agonized cry escape from his lips, and his wife fainted cold. The children wept with terror and also sorrow because they knew that the loss of one among them was now assured. The family had until the next dawn to make its offering. What can I say to you of the anguish that Baba Ayub and his wife suffered that night? No parents would have to make a choice such as this. Out of the children's earshot, Baba Ayub and his wife debated what they should do. They talked and wept and talked and wept. All night they went back and forth. As dawn neared, they had yet to reach the decision, which was perhaps what the thief wanted, as their indecision would allow it to take 5 children instead of one. In the end, Baba Ayub collected from just outside the house 5 rocks of identical size and shape. On the face of each, he scribbled the name of one child. And when he was done, he tossed the rocks into a burlap sack. When he offered the bag to his wife, she recoiled, as though it held a venomous snake. I can't do it, she said to her husband, shaking her head. I cannot be the one to choose. I could not bear it. Neither could I, Baba Ayub began to say, but he saw through the window that the sun was only moments away from peeking over the stern hills. Time was running short. He gazed immeasurably at his 5 children. A finger had to be cut to save the hand. He shut his eyes and withdrew a rock from the sack. I suppose you also know which rock Baba Ayub happened to pick. When he saw the name on it, he turned his face heavenward and let out a scream. With a broken heart, he lifted his youngest son into his arms, and Caius, who had blind trust in his father, happily wrapped his arms around Baba Ayub's neck. It wasn't until Baba Ayub deposited him outside the house and shut the door that the boy realized what was amiss. And there stood Baba Ayub, eyes squeezed shut, tears leaking from both, back against the door, as his beloved Caius pounded his small fist on it, crying for Baba to let him back in. And Baba Ayub stood there, muttering, forgive me, as the ground shook with the thief's footsteps and its sun screeched and the earth trembled again and again as the thief took its leave from Maidan Sabs, until at last it was gone, and the earth was still, and all was silence but for Baba Ayub, still weeping and asking Caius for forgiveness. Abdullah, your sister has fallen asleep. Cover her feet with the blanket. There. Good. Maybe I should stop now. No? You want me to go on? Are you sure, boy? All right. So, where was I? Yes. There followed a 40-day mourning period. Every day, neighbors cooked meals for the family and kept vigil with them. People brought over what offerings they could: tea, candy, bread, almonds, and they brought as well their condolences and sympathies. Baba Ayub could hardly bring himself to say so much as a word of thanks. He sat in a corner, weeping, streams of tears pouring from both eyes, as though he meant to end the village streak of droughts with them. He wouldn't wish his torment and suffering on the vilest of men. Several years passed, the droughts continued, and Maidan Sahibs fell into even worse poverty. Several babies died of thirst in their cribs. The wells ran even lower, and the river dried. Unlike Baba Ayyub's anguish, a river that swelled and swelled with each passing day, he was of no use to his family any longer. He didn't work, didn't pray, hardly ate. His wife and children pleaded with him, but it was no good. His remaining sons had to take over his work, for every day Baba Ayub did nothing but sit at the edge of his field, a lone, wretched figure gazing towards the mountains. He stopped speaking to the villagers, for he believed they muttered things behind his back. They said he was coward for willingly giving away his son, that he was an unfit father. A real father would have fought the thief. He would have died defending his family. He mentioned this to his wife one night.